Welcome to the Honest Health Podcast with your host, Jeffrey Burke. Honest Health brings you the brightest minds in the natural products industry, as well as athletes and entertainers. Jeff will keep you entertained and informed while educating on how to be successful on your healthy journeys. Now, here's your host, Jeffrey Burke.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Honest Health with Jeffrey Burke podcast. I'm Jeffrey Burke. I'm so glad you're back. We're having such a great time, and what an amazing lineup of guests I have for you. And the whole idea, like I mentioned it the other day, the whole idea has to do with educating ourselves, getting more knowledgeable, getting healthy, being healthy, staying healthy, but also dealing with the everyday stress and pressures that we have and fitting our healthy lifestyle in to this journey, and also getting answers to questions and getting clarity. I think you're going to really enjoy the show today. We're going to be talking about women's health, which is very, very important. I'm so happy to have a very good friend appear. I'm such a big fan of my guest today. Dr. Audrey Ross is going to be with us today. A great history. Audrey has been with Country Life for over 13 years. Their national and senior national educator, providing product training for retailers and consumers. She joined the team with an extensive 30-year background in the natural products field. She possesses a PhD in naturopathy and also a master herbalist. For 10 years, Dr. Ross ran a successful naturopathic consulting practice in Texas, where she served as an overall health coach to the patients. How important that is. She's conducted national and international seminars on general nutrition, weight loss, managing chronic health challenges, including diabetes and hyperlipidemia, stress reduction, label reading, and even proper supplementation. For 3 years, she worked closely with medical doctors in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, providing nutritional consultations for some of their more challenging patients, the majority of whom suffered from diabetes and hyperlipidemia. Dr. Ross has taught multiple continued education classes and courses for medical and dental assistants in Texas and Illinois, and has a passion for education, especially in the natural industry. Additionally, she has co-authored a book on female hormone management and is a frequent guest speaker on numerous radio shows throughout the United States. Her passion for education, her extensive knowledge has helped her bridge the historical divide between allopathic and naturopathic medical practices. Help me welcome my guest. Hello there.
Hello there. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this.
I am too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And you and I have a great history. We've done, oh my goodness, many radio shows together.
We don't want to count how many.
We'll leave it at just many. Okay,
Many.
that sounds good. How are you? How's everything?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Very excited about this new platform. And I guess you can teach an old dog new tricks. So trying to get a little bit of a feeler of how this is going to work. And I think it's going to be really kind of exciting because it's going to allow people to have the availability of being able to listen when they want to, when they can, what works for them. And then they'll also be able to eventually go to the YouTube channel and they can watch us, interacting and talking. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. So we're going to talk women's health today. This is a big issue. I think there was a time when you and I were probably just starting out when most of the health information kind of dealt with women that were much older, kind of like the men's category. Men got to be 60 or older, and all of a sudden we started thinking about health for them. It's a different world today.
Most definitely. The whole thing is we need to think about our health in our 20s. Mm-hmm. Like you said, when we started out in this industry, we were 6 foot tall, bulletproof, and nothing was going to happen. And then you start to age and people go, uh-oh, what do I need to do now? So things have changed because there's so much information available. Back when we started, there wasn't this much information available. We didn't have all the Dr. Googles and everything else out there. And there wasn't so much research and technology. And that's really what's led us to really improve our ability to take care of ourselves, because we're all responsible for our own health. That's the one thing I try to teach people all the time. It's your responsibility to take care of your own health, and you know your body better than anybody else does.
I think we've also forgotten maybe we never knew how to prioritize. We get locked in with our jobs, our families, our extracurricular activity, our hobbies, our deadlines, and the things we have to do. And all of a sudden, it's a year later. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I said, I can't believe this year is gone,
Yep.
and did I really do all the things that I personally wanted to do? No, because I get wrapped up. Thank goodness I love what I do, and you the same. But, we do kind of put ourselves on the back burner, and all of a sudden we're playing catch up. And I think we all need to spend a little bit more spotlight on our self time, because pretty soon you're going to wish that you had.
That's so true. And the problem that I see most people having is they go to do the research and there's so much conflicting information out there. They get frustrated, or they try something and it doesn't work, and oh, this doesn't work. I'm just going to forget about it. But that's why you do what you do and I do what I do, because we want to help educate people. And that is so important, to get real education, not just bits and pieces or promotional or propaganda information, I'll call it, to really dig down and look at some of the specifics that we need to learn, and to ask ourselves, is this right for me? Is this something I should do? Is this an issue I'm dealing with? So there's so many questions we have to ask ourselves, and we have to take care of ourselves, because if you don't take care of yourself, where else are you going to live? You're stuck.
And it's really such a good point. And I think one of the issues, and you and I were talking about this right before, I think a lot of women, when I speak with them, they're under the impression that you have to be a certain age or at a certain level in your life before you start having issues. And it's not calendar based. It's sometimes not even age based. It could be situationally based. And there are different levels of things that women do go through. And they may be in one and not even know it, because they're thinking about the end one that they may not be anywhere close to, but there could be a couple stops that they have to make along the way.
Exactly. I look back in the book that I co-authored back in 2000 and thinking, oh my goodness, that's back in 2000. That's like decades ago. And the information there is really, there's so much new information that I need to rewrite that book, because there's stuff in there that it's like old news, don't even bother with it, that type of thing. And because of technology and because of research and because of testing and because of people asking and demanding that we know, there's so much new information out there. But one of the things 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, women don't really understand what's happening with their body. There's PMS. Okay. Every woman knows about PMS.
True.
That's a given. But what's menopause? What's perimenopause? What's postmenopause? This is where the big gray area comes in. So in perimenopause, that's when the hormones start to change. We've got a finite number of eggs that are produced, and the hormone levels change. Now, it's not just age-based, as you said, because if you're under a lot of stress or if you've been ill, there's a lot of things that go into the fact that your hormones start to change. This can happen in your 30s. And there's so many women I've talked to that say, well, I'm in my 30s. I can't be in menopause. Well, you're not in menopause. You're in perimenopause. That's the step before menopause. That's when hormones change. That's when you might be getting some of those symptoms of hot flashes, cramping. You still have the PMS symptoms, but you're getting some of these other symptoms. That's your body starting to change.
Okay.
Then menopause is the 12 months, it's actually month 13 after 12 months of no menstruation. Now, this is so confusing to women. Well, I haven't had a cycle in 6 months. I must be in menopause. Not yet. It's month 13. And then you're in postmenopause. So menopause, you don't even know you're there, other than some symptoms, which could be perimenopause related. So the whole cycle, really, there's no definitive line in the sand. So say you're in your 30s and you start experiencing hot flashes or night sweats. Don't panic. Step back, look at what's happening in your life. Maybe you're under stress.
Right.
Maybe it's stress induced. Maybe it is hormone induced. And I always tell women, yes, get your hormones tested with your physician or your healthcare provider. Find out where they're at. But taking an estrogen pill is not the best answer for the majority of women, because there's things that you can do to help offset the symptoms. And it's really about symptom management. It's not about, I call menopause adolescence in reverse, because in adolescence, you've got raging hormones, and in menopause, you have lowering hormones. So there's not a pill for adolescence, and there's really not a pill for menopause. work with your healthcare provider. But there's so many things that you can do to help with your own symptoms. Every prescription is going to have a side effect. We know that. It may affect some people differently than others. Some women may get benefit from it, but really it's your own personal decision. But understand where you're at in the whole life cycle. And that's what it is. It's a life cycle. Aging is not optional. We all age. That's just what it is. And I embrace it. But you don't like the symptoms. So there's other things that you can do to help offset the symptoms. The biggest one people talk about, hot flashes.
Yeah.
There's an ingredient called estrogen 100, and it's in a lot of different products. But estrogen 100 isn't a hormone, but it helps your body with night sweats and hot flashes and vaginal dryness. It is a registered, trademarked ingredient. It has gold standard studies that show it works. This is what you want to look at. If you can take an herbal supplement, where do our prescription medicines come from? The interactions of what herbs have to do. That's where they're derived from, that physical characteristic. So look for something like that if you're dealing with that. A lot of women don't realize that magnesium, simple magnesium, can help so much with bloating and breast tenderness and, cramping. And women especially have a tendency to be lower in magnesium because the most of your magnesium is held in your bones. So we're not getting enough magnesium in our diet. So there's so many things that women can do. You don't have to take the prescription medication of estrogen. That's old school. That's way old school. That's 30 years ago. And now there's so much more research that shows we have options, and it's an individual choice. I mean, it's totally your choice. But I look at it as, my grandmother didn't take estrogen, and she lived to be in her 90s and didn't have osteoporosis either. So what was the difference?
It's interesting. I had this conversation years ago, and my grandmother was alive, and she lived to 97. And they were talking about menopause, and her daughters, my mother and my aunt, just had terrible menopause. They just were, and my grandmother said, she goes, I got a little warm for a couple days, and that was it. And it was just so funny because even my grandmother and my great aunts and uncles from that generation, my uncles had no problems at all with prostate problems. My great aunts had no problem with menopause symptoms. But the next generation, of course, a much more stressful generation, they had terrible times. And then the next generation, my cousins, rough times as well.
Think about the changes in our diet. What's changed in our diet? Back in your grandmother and my grandmother's time, they didn't have additives, preservatives, artificial sweeteners. Stress levels were less. That's true. But think about it. Were they really less? They just knew how to manage it differently. They worked outside. They got physical activity. There's so many things that are different now. We're all attached to what we're doing in all these wonderful things. Here we are. We're contributing to it, Jeff. It's a whole different lifestyle. And if you look statistically at the Industrial Revolution time period in the 40s, when things started really picking up with additives, preservatives, and processed foods, that's when we really started seeing a lot of changes in human health, because the body is not designed to live on artificial stuff. We're designed to live on fruits, vegetables, lean protein, yes, grains, the proper grains. Look at what wheat looks like now versus what it did in your grandmother's time. Totally different plant. So there's so many things that go into what's happening to our body. Our bodies are phenomenal organisms. I mean, they look at all the things we put up against ourselves and we still maintain. But
that's very true.
Depending on how much you do and don't do, things start breaking down. It's like running a car with water instead of gasoline.
Yeah.
We've got to look at what we're putting in to see what we're going to be getting out. So I want high octane, good stuff in my body.
Well, and to your point, let me ask you a question. We tell people today that eating a healthy diet, exercising, getting good sleep, managing your stress, decompressing, taking time to enjoy life and making better choices. This is for everything across the board. I'm sure all of those would apply to any of these stages that we're speaking about.
Most definitely. Most definitely, because stress in and of itself can exasperate symptoms. So when you're under stress, think about it. When you're under stress, your stomach gets in a knot or you get a
Hmm.
headache. And if you're
True.
already dealing with hormone fluctuations, and that just exasperates that symptom that you're having. So again, simple things like breathing exercises, go outside and take a walk. So what if it's cold outside? Put a jacket on, just get outside, get some movement going, get some fresh air, look at nature. I mean, I love watching nature. I love watching the wild animals go and the birds fly and looking at the colors in the trees in the
Yeah.
fall. And there's just so much that you can just go out, and you don't have to do it for a long time. Just have to get one moment. Stress, chronic stress, is basically the basis of all disease. Chronic unmanaged stress. You need a break from that. And that's the whole key, getting a break. Okay, we're all going to have stress. There is no way we're going to get away from stress, but it's how you manage it and giving your body a break. That is so important to keeping that stress from causing more problems down the line.
How does libido and intimacy tie into hormonal, I guess we could call it dysfunction or imbalances?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about that. Is it hormone or is it stress related?
Oh,
I mean, if you're stressed, you're not really wanting anybody to be around you.
true.
So
True.
that's not hormone per se, but it affects hormones. There's fenugreek extract. There's a lot of fenugreek extract out there that has been studied to help with libido. And what it does is it kind of balances out the hormones themselves as far as your body goes. But you can take all the fenugreek in the world, and if you're still stressed, it's not happening. So then you look at maybe theanine, something to just kind of help you calm. Even magnesium can help with calming. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So libido, another big problem in perimenopause and menopause and even postmenopause, that is looked at as how can we address it to not only relieve that low libido, but also that stress. Manage that stress. Take a walk. Go dancing. I mean, that's an amazing thing to do. So there's just a lot of ways that it can be done, and everybody's different. So you have to find out what's going to work for you. There's not a cookie cutter. None of us are identical, so you can't say, do this for everybody.
Now, let me ask you a question. This is something that I think is important. A lot of women that I do speak with, and I know you as well, many of them will say, is my hormone malfunctioning due to my weight? Is that also an issue? Or is it mainly stress and food and diet and things like that? Or is that another factor?
That is a whole nother topic of discussion and research, actually, looking at excess weight because fat cells produce their own little, what do I call them? What do I want to call it? Little critters. And it can affect your hormones at many different levels. It can affect your estrogen. It can affect your testosterone. It can affect your progesterone. So there's a lot of things that oversized fat molecules, we'll call them, can play a role in a lot of things, not just with hormones and libido and perimenopause symptoms, but also other health issues and brain function. So we do want to maintain a healthy weight. Now,
Mhm.
you don't have to be a skinny model because guess what? They have problems too.
Absolutely.
And there's a happy medium for everybody, and it's what you're comfortable with. And if you're comfortable in your own skin, then great. That's what you need to do. But if you're having symptoms, look at the whole picture. You're one giant functioning machine. And like I said, you can't run a car on water. So you got gas in the car, but you got high octane gas and no wheels. That's not going to do you any good either. So you've
So
got to
true.
look at the whole picture and look at what the whole body function is.
But we've fallen into the magic wand Wave a wand and make everything go away, because we live in a world where people have gotten used to, fast medications that give you a noticeable difference in an hour, and obviously we have to remember that we did not get in these positions, no matter what they are, whether it's hormone malfunctioning or imbalances or weight gain or stress or depression or anxiety or whatever it is. It didn't happen overnight. It took a while for us to get here, but as a race, humans, we tend to be very, very impatient, and that just adds to the stress too.
It does. And because of our fast-paced world, and because we've got 15 different things on our to-do list, and we've only got the first 2 done, it's already the end of the day, so we're always chronically going like crazy, and then something happens. We as a society have demanded of the healthcare providers, give me a pill to fix this because I got to have a meeting tomorrow. I've got to be here tomorrow. So instead of looking at correcting the problem, we're doing a lot of symptom treatment. And we have basically demanded our healthcare providers to provide symptom treatment. That's what we want them to do. We don't care what's wrong. We don't want to go through the effort of correcting the problem. We just want to fix that symptom so we can go on with our day. We really need to start stepping back and saying, why did this happen? How can I fix it? And understand that it will take time. You didn't get here in an hour, so you're not going to fix it in an hour. I always tell people it takes 4 months to change your blood over one time. Why do you want something to work immediately? It's basically covering up what the real problem is. And think of it like, you've got a balloon and you got to hold it tight, but something else is going to pop over here, and you pop over that, and then something else is going to pop over here. Pretty soon you're going to spring a leak. Yeah. So let's look at the symptom, what's causing the symptom. Let's correct the problem. And guess what? The symptom will go away.
Do we see more hormonal imbalances in the United States than around the world, or because people are westernizing their diets and following suit with things that we do, which aren't always good? Are they catching up to us, or are we pretty bad shape over here?
Well, I think we're in pretty bad shape because we have so many additives, so many preservatives, so many artificial ingredients that we're consuming, so many genetically modified foods that we're eating. And if you look at people in Italy, the Mediterranean diet, they eat a lot of fats, even the French. Well, why are French women so skinny and they drink wine and they eat cheese? Well, because they don't have a lot of garbage in their food. They eat fruits and vegetables. They eat fish. They have good fats in their diet, not trans fats, not pretend fats. So they're looking at feeding their body. Yes. And if you do it the right way, you can enjoy some of those things. True. And that's what I want to do. I want to do it the right way so I can enjoy those things. I like my glass of wine every now and then, and I like my cheese, and I like my chocolate, but moderation and doing the right thing. I mean, I freak out if I see something with artificial sweetener in, or if I see sugar-free, I just kind of like have a meltdown going, oh my gosh. And what's interesting is even diabetics who are trying to get away from sugar, they go to the sugar-free or the sugar substitutes, and their body reacts as if they're taking sugar.
I agree with that.
So we are, we have a lot of marketing in this country that unfortunately is not contributing to good health. It's contributing to poor health. So
I had the comfort zone combination the other day with a friend of mine, and she said, well, when I feel like this, I go to my comfort zone. And then she told me what her comfort zone was, and I went, I said, you realize, just humor me here. I said, you realize that a comfort zone is, yes, comfortable and familiar. It's like that dent in the couch that our rear end permanently fits in so beautifully, so we can reach the remote and prop up our feet and have our beverage and our snacks. It's just perfect. I said, but you do realize that comfort zones, although comfortable, are rarely good, because we don't have really healthy comfort zones. We have the place that we want to go when we don't want to be doing everything else that we're doing. And it's a quick, comfortable place. And I think, as we were talking about food, I'll give you an example. I said, when you're stressed out and you want to eat something in your comfort zone, do you eat a salad or do you eat vegetables? And she goes, oh no. And I said, what do you eat? And she goes, Deep fried foods, junk food, pizza, chocolate, the things that I really enjoy that make me mentally feel better. And I said, so it's an unhealthy comfort zone. And she went, oh, yes. And I just said, I think a lot of us have those.
A lot of us do. And sometimes it's okay, but you have to look at the big picture. And I tell people, all right, so you're going to have those days, Thanksgiving, Christmas, when you don't eat the way you should. 80-20 rule, 80% of the time, do what you're supposed to do. Allow yourself that 20% time, because when your brain hears, you can't have that, you can't have that, what does your brain do? Oh, I have to have it or I'm just not going to exist anymore.
Exactly.
It's just how our body reacts. So you look at it as, okay, I'm going to enjoy this small piece of cheesecake. That's one of my downfalls. I have a small piece of cheesecake and I'm going to savor every bite of it, and then I'll be good.
Got it.
And then have the salad or whatever. But it's what you can deal with yourself. And it's instant gratification with those junk foods that we have, because it promotes endorphins, and just the body goes, oh, that's so good, I feel great now. And then an hour later you go, oh, I feel terrible.
That's so
Why did I
true.
do that? I mean, and I've had those instances where you kind of go, I just can't stop eating this bag of chocolate chip cookies. And then you just are so happy. And about an hour later, you go, I think I'm going to be sick. Why did I do that? I know better. Yep, I know better. But sometimes those things happen and you just go, okay, done with that. Learn my lesson. Sometimes we got to remember that those are lessons that we learn too. So, and keep those things in focus. Remember those. I have a sister that says, I know when I eat bad because I feel so bad.
I see.
And I know when I eat good because I can do my workouts, I can do the hikes, I can go skiing. So you feel it. And once you start to feel good, and then you fall back in one of those comfort zone issues,
Yes.
and you go, this isn't so comfortable anymore. Maybe I'll try something else next time. Have a glass of water.
How do you feel about a good multiple vitamin? Maybe how do you feel about, probiotics? Maybe having a greens drink? Are these all things that could fill the gaps created by unhealthy choices?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's always that. What do I take? I want to fill the gap. The problem is people take those things and then go, well, I take that, so it's okay. I can be junky over here. No, no, no. It's to fill the gap. That's what it's for. But yes, a good multi. It should be a food-based multi. Probiotics. People say, what's the best probiotic? And I say all of them, because you should really change your probiotics every month, because each one has a different strain capacity and viability and amount. You've got over 7,000 different strains of probiotics in your gut. You're not going to find a supplement with all those in there. Don't take too much of it. More is not always better. Again, moderation. Look at what you're doing. Women especially need to look at a good calcium product for bone health, and sometimes men too. It's not calcium citrate. That's not going to help your bone. You want calcium hydroxyapatite, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, tricalcium phosphate, somewhere along those. You need calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus for that calcium to be able to go to the bone, to build bone. So there's a lot of things you've got to look at. It's not just what's the least expensive out there. It's quality, not quantity.
True.
So there's certain things, greens are always good for us. So if you don't eat a lot of greens, if you like a green drink, that's great. I like to chew. I find if I try to drink my nutrients, I'm wanting to chew on a piece of bark or something. I've got to chew on something. So, and a lot of people are like that way. They need to chew. The unfortunate thing is they take the good, healthy drinks, and then when they need to chew, they chew on a cookie. Yeah, it's kind of defeating the purpose. So look at what your body needs and what you need and what's going to satisfy you. And that's the most important thing.
Is it ever too late along the way to correct an imbalance, a hormonal imbalance, and make a difference?
As long as you're breathing, it's never too late. I'm going to be doing a seminar on healthy aging. When do you start? Is it too early or is it too late? Neither one is true. Whenever you think about it, you need to start, because we age every single day. Every day we age. Is it too late? No. I've seen transformations of people in their 50s and 60s and 70s when they change their diet, their exercise, their attitude, and their stress levels. It's
Attitude.
never too late. As long as you're breathing, it's never too late.
Attitude's big. That's a big one. And we do live in a very stressful world. And one of my best suggestions for people is to not turn on the news, because that's a great way to take away your shine for the day.
Yes.
But uh, do something that increases activity. It's amazing how many people during the pandemic, they used to say that when you went to college, you'd get the freshman 15 from eating pizza and stuff like that. Well, the pandemic was like the pandemic 30 or 40,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I'm telling people now, they're like, well, I don't want to join a gym. You don't have to. Go for a walk. And I guarantee you, your dog is overweight too. Take them for a walk with you,
I
because
tell people, walk around your coffee table.
move.
If you've got stairs, walk up and down the stairs, walk around the coffee table. I love gardening. That's a great exercise. Can't garden in the wintertime, but I've got stairs. I can walk up and down the stairs. Just do some kind of movement. I have a dear, dear, dear friend. She's 94.
Oh my.
And, she's still with it. She's not as active as she used to be. She's, got a little bit of Parkinson's starting, but she gets out every day, and if the sun's out, she'll go out, sit in the sun with all wrapped up in a blanket, but she's sitting out in the sun watching the birds. Makes a big difference. Makes a big difference.
A quick question I want to make sure I get in before we run out of time, but I think it's really important to realize that our industry has dramatically changed in the area of information and knowledge. And we're very blessed to be an industry where so many of the people that are in the industry are passionate, and they have amazing amounts of knowledge, and they're like us, continuing to learn all the time, because you mentioned it earlier, to your point, a lot of the things that we learned 30, 40 years ago is obsolete. So you have to stay on top. So if you live in an area where you have health food stores and you can go somewhere with people that are really knowledgeable and have these conversations, you're going to learn a lot more than just trying to guess your way through it. And sometimes having these conversations can help you kind of narrow down and give you better focus, and maybe steer you in a healthier direction, if you will.
Well, and you need to talk to somebody that is familiar with the industry, with supplements, with the body, with diet, exercise, physiological function. I mean, there's a lot of information out there on the Google, and I tell people Dr. Google has got a lot of information, some good, some bad, some deadly. So we've got to watch that. Talk to people, work with a qualified healthcare provider that's willing to listen to you. I mean, I go through, whenever I move, it takes me a while to find a good healthcare provider, because they don't want to listen to me. They're like, oh, at your age, you need to be on Fosamax. No, I don't. So there's a lot of pigeonholing done with traditional medicine, and that is only because we've made it that way, because doctors have to go, okay, this one's coming in, check this box, this is what you need, they'll take care of that symptom, never looking at what the real problem is. And we talked about that. It's symptom treatment, not health care. So
Sick care, a lot of times.
Yep.
They're treating, and we have learned how to ask for things that get rid of symptoms that annoy us. And somehow along the way, we have forgotten that symptoms are the way that our body is communicating with us and telling us it's a problem. It's our check engine light, if you will. And if we would listen to it rather than putting a piece of tape over it or muffling it and, gagging it so it can't respond to us, if we would listen, sometimes we may find that the solution is very, very small, but if we wait too long, the solution could be very, very big.
Exactly. Our body is telling us there's something wrong. When you have a symptom, there's something not functioning correctly. So that's what we have to remember.
So give everybody just a quick, we're going to sign off, but I want to leave the last word with you. What would you say to women today if they're just starting to think that they might need to start having this hormonal focus?
Look at your lifestyle. Look at your diet. Diet does play a big role in it. Make sure you're managing your stress. Look to a healthcare provider who will listen to you instead of just give you a prescription to treat that symptom. Manage it yourself. You are in charge. You are in charge of your body. If you want the symptom to go away, see what you can do to correct the problem. There's so much that's going on. Look at what your symptom is. Say it's restlessness, or say it's cramping, or say it's night sweats, look for a product that has the estrogen in it. Find something that will help you that's not going to affect other parts of your body. It's not going to be just a Band-Aid. So you are in charge of your own body, your hand to your mouth. You get to decide. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. So be cautious, be aware. Don't believe everything you read, because a lot of it can cause a problem. But look at what's happening to your body and evaluate yourself. Look in the mirror and do your box checking.
Well, I want to thank you so much. This was wonderful. And I think it's a really good step for kind of steering people, women in the right direction, letting them know that they are not alone. There's a lot of this going on out there. And the way the world and the state statute of health in this country is off the charts, not in the right direction. So you're in the majority, not the minority. And we just wanted to make sure that we'll have many more shows together, myself and Dr. Ross, talking about other great topics. But this is a great way to start. I want to thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for all you do in the industry. And I wish you well. You take care and stay healthy.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to be part of your inaugural launch here on your podcast. This is great. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay tuned for more information from the Honest Health Podcast with Jeffrey Burke. And make sure to check back often for interviews and conversations from the guests we all want to hear from. I'm John the Announcer. Thanks for listening.